Hey guys, Abraham here from Kinetic Creativity, and I am about to give you guys a look at the Tank Farm Open House 2019. So, for those of you who are not familiar with the Tank Farm, in the state of Virginia, there is a museum. It's called the Americans in Wartime Museum, and they have what's called the Tank Farm, and they have over 50 military vehicles from the US and other nations, and they have them all kept in running order. And you can volunteer there and get your hands dirty in the oil and help work on the tanks. It's really cool. But every year they do an annual event or an open house, and they have their vehicles driving around the track. They have a Marine unit from the Quantico Marine Base come out, and they do a flamethrower slash machine gun nest assault demonstration. They have canine attack dog demonstrations. It was so cool. The event took place on the 7th and 8th of September. It was a weekend long event, and it was so much more than I had originally expected. If some of you are familiar with the Bobbington Tank Museum's Tank Fest in England, this is basically the American Tank Fest, and it was awesome. They had living history units with their camp set up. They were sleeping overnight at the event. You had Russian soldiers, British soldiers, Americans, and all of it was mostly World War II era. All the living history units. They did have all their vehicles out, including you can see the new Humvee shown here, and this was probably at the Marine Base Quantico, and so they brought that out, which was super cool, and it was an awesome time. So some of my favorite tanks that were there, you've got here the M3 Stuart. It was cool to see that. They were letting people climb on it the first day, but then the next day there was a sign that said, please don't climb on the equipment. So I don't know if somebody got hurt the first day, but I was there pretty much all day and I never heard any commotion. So I don't know what happened. And here is an FT Renault, but this actually isn't a Renault. It's an American reproduction. So this is actually a World War I era tank, but it's the American version. So it's got a steel guide wheel up in the front. The French, actually, their original Renaults had a wood guide wheel, so we replaced it with steel because a tank is much better if everything's steel. So this is in fact World War I era, and it runs, and it never saw combat, but there are bullet indentions because they tested on it. So. And then we have an M5 Stuart, and I took some pictures of it driving on the track. So these are all photographs and videos that I took while there. I brought my camera, and they had the M5 Stuart drive around the track. It was super cool. Just give you a second to enjoy the dirt kicking up with its tracks. It's just so awesome. The day was so cool. The only problem with this was I had to turn around really quick and hide my lens from the dirt every once in a while. It would get kicked up a lot. I saw a lot of other people doing that as well. So the only problem, tanks are awesome, but they really are not great for your camera lenses. So here's an M24 Chaffee, fully running, as you can see, obviously. This was super cool as well. They were really gunning it with the Stuart and the Chaffee across the course. This part's a little slow, but the first day they were really hauling with the Chaffee, and they had the entire American tank destroyer line, World War II. So you've got the M10 Wolverine right here, and then the Jackson. I can't remember I think it's the M36 Jackson. I can't remember its technical number. And then you have the M18 Hellcat. I think the Hellcat's M18. So you had the Hellcat, Jackson, and the Wolverine. It was cool to see those. M8 Scout Car. They had the American Weasel. They had a Bren or Global Carrier there. They had two T-34-85s, which were super cool. One of them was really in rough condition, but it runs as well. I think they pulled it out of a marsh or something in Eastern Europe. And we have a Swedish S Tank. That was really cool. I had just seen Brickmania's new model for that out, and I had never seen one in real life, and there it was. And then you've got a Valentine. I think that's a Valentine 2. There's the Global Carrier I was talking about. Brickmania was there. I got to meet Brickmania's designer, Cody Osell. That was super cool. I got a Filthy 13 101st Airborne custom minifigure while I was there. And they had an M4A1 Sherman at the event. I was super excited about that, and that was actually in the Marine battle. So wait till you guys see that. They also had a Marine. I think this is an M4A3 Sherman, and then now this is a M4A4 Sherman, and it has an AMX-13 gun in it. This was used by the Israelis. So you can see it's in the desert tan. The Israeli flag is draped over the turret. And then the Willys Jeep, this was the best one there. There were a couple there, but this one had all the bells and whistles on it. I don't know if you can see the bar in the front. That was for cutting wires the Germans would string across trails to decapitate the American drivers. And then the Kubelwagen, which was basically the German counterpart to the American Willys Jeep. I've heard that it's a much smoother ride, but it is very low in horsepower compared to the American Willys Jeep. So, and then here the Marines, they first marched out and stood in a line while the gunnery sergeant basically broke down the platoon, which was super cool. So he broke it into the firing squads and told what each person's role was and what they would do on the battlefield. And he narrated the battle, so that was super sweet. This is them getting ready. You can see the one guy with the flamethrower on his back. I think that's a 70-pound flamethrower, so he did it both days. Nobody else wanted to carry the flamethrower, so... and yeah, they did their attack at 2:30 in the afternoon both days. And now, the moment you have all been waiting for. Here it comes, the Marine battle. Now, I filmed both attacks, and the first day, they had the Sherman drive out, but they weren't able to get it to fire, although they had planned to. And the second day, the Sherman actually fired. And on the first day, the M1919 that they had, the machine gun, they actually set that up on the ground. And on the second day, they mounted it up on the turret of the Sherman. So I put together shots from both days to make a cohesive film, basically. So this isn't going to be completely accurate. You're not seeing one day. It's both days combined. So you may see, oh, the Sherman was a little more to the side in the first shot. Well, that's because, you know, the second shot was actually from the other day. So I put it together as best as I could, added some music, and basically made it into a movie. It looks really cool, and I hope you guys enjoy it. It was really cool. It was like they were there for me to film them, but I was just a spectator, and it turned out great. So enough said. Here it is.